So this is a battlefield, and today the battlefield is the box. I'm using cardboard mount board. It's like cardboard, it's about 1.5mm or 1/16 of an inch thick. And that's my panel. It's got spacers so that the door can fit in. These are 6-7mm foam board. This is 5mm foam board, etched by hand. Just so each door's got a different pattern on it. And then the panel that I cut out, I then stick on the front. And I'll vary that, so like I've twisted it horizontally there, I've cut square corners there, and then put it coming off the edge of the frame. And with these bits on, the total frame depth comes to approximately the same width as the polystyrene that I'm using. So when building these frames, you can add more or less detail. You know, you could start doing complicated layers and cutting arches out, but I'm trying to build this as rapidly as possible, so that then this gets stuck onto this, and these will all get painted separately. So the next ones are doing the same thing but then adding windows in, and this is so as to not add windows into the polystyrene. Just a quick note about gluing here. One, use PVA glue. If you use super glue, it will melt through the foam core, which isn't necessarily a problem, but it's not ideal. Two, apply it directly, but then use a brush. I'm using a flat brush, any brush could potentially do, and spread it evenly before applying your surface. And what you should find is that if everything's squared up in this case, is that once you've got it in place, apply a bit of pressure, and because it's got a porous surface on the foam board, when you release, you basically want to stay together. Also, if you want to just tap everything down, make sure your edges are aligned and that your unit is all square. So here's the first two walls, which are going to have doors in them for my first structure, which is going to be my biggest structure that everything else sits inside of. And this is why we prefab these units. And that is so that when we're cutting these slots, we're actually cutting them by placing this on it and cutting around this, or drawing around this and then cutting slightly inside, and then just cutting away, because what we want is a nice tight fit so that that entire unit will sit neatly inside that space, because then this will get painted and this will get painted separately. So that, because this is a pig basically, because what you need to do is paint this unit and paint the door and then put it together. And if you have this attached to this, you need to leave a slot in the bottom so that you can feed the door in, but that means you also can't put the blocker in, and you have to put the blocker in afterwards, so it just becomes a faff, and then you'll have to do a final paint along this bottom edge. So basically, don't. Also, it means that when you paint this, you can paint this differently from this, and it will overall make a more interesting building. So marking up the holes for cutting for doors, just a couple of things. One is use all the materials. So this is my 5mm deep foam board. I'm using that at the bottom and top, and then finding the center. And then in this case you can see the black line. That's where I've used a biro to just etch it in a bit. And I've taken the whole frame, I've rubbed away where I've used pencil to mark the bottom, and then I've flipped it to do the bottom corners. So that gives me my nice sort of cut off edge and door. And then what I've done is just taken a couple of mil inside all the way around. I'm just doing it roughly by hand, but like take about 2mm off both all around. So that means that now the door will not is too big for the frame, so it won't fall out. First layer, measure. Second layer, draw through. Once you've cut out the pieces, but when you cut out these pieces, make sure you're cutting to the outside edge of the line, because the scale we're operating at is very small. It means that a millimetre can make a difference, or even half a millimetre can make a difference between everything being skew and everything being right. Here we go then, here's all our prefabs done. So we've got a total of 8 doors, although we'll probably find that in some respects pairs of doors will be used on some buildings. So we'll probably end up with 1, 2, 3 buildings where pairs of doors are being used, so I'll use these two in one, mix these with these at the top, and then these two will probably be in separate buildings, so you just have some smaller rooms with single entrances, some bigger rooms with like a back door and a front door, and then just some like underground or secret bunkery or ground level entrance kind of access only doors or what have you on a low story building. So now it's got to build all the polystyrene buildings. Here then the core piece is done, and they are all based around, so where I've left the walls are the same height, so they're only 2.5 inches high. I slightly regret that. I wish I'd done them 3 inches now, but it's too late, or at least it's too late as far as I'm concerned, and they've been made so that the various prefabricated panels, of which most are now painted, will fit in the gaps, and then this will happen so that I'll spray paint all of this, and then I'll fit these in and I'll super glue them in place rather than PVAing them in place. 1, because faster, and 2, because once it's all sealed you can use super glue. So this is our box. All 3 pieces fit in. It's quite a snug fit. There are better ways around of putting it in, not the better ways around of putting it. That gives us our 3 pieces. They can go this way up, in which case they can be linked together however you like, or put separately, or we can just and that gives you 3 12-inch by 12-inch pieces, so easily enough for significant. Or you can stack them, and you can end up with something like this, where you have a large building which is just over 11 inches tall. Don't know if you can see the ruler. Ooh. So yes, onwards. Final bit of polystyrene build for this particular battlefield in a box, which is like a micro battlefield in a box, where the battlefield is the box, is these steps / walls. So step mode, when you've got them flipped this way around, you want something so that you've got an obvious entrance rather than just having like a 6-foot leap out of a door onto the floor, which doesn't make any sense, because why would you do that? The other thing though is, I mean, or you could have mini steps. If you want mini steps, you don't want big steps, you can have mini steps. Just go just to the door itself. And then all of these slot together so that you can stand them and form walls out of them. And that means that you, depending on the arrangement of your terrain, you can have different kinds of steps, different kinds of walls. Also, on the ones where you've got big overhangs, you need to, if they're flipped like so, you'll tend to find that you get to a point where there's enough weight and it'll tip. So you need to use something to prop them. So I've built these in part to act as props so that they can go in underneath. So you can build your wall structures out from the edges of this. And this is just a solution. It's not the only solution, because the other thing is, when this particular piece is wedged in on top of the larger structure that it fits into, it's stable enough to take the weight. Certainly plastic minis. However, if you're using a lot of metal minis, this will tip at some point, and the only way to stop that is to have props. If you're making it out of heavier material like MDF, possibly even mountboard, then the weight of it, even if it's only like 3mm MDF, the weight of it will be as such that it won't get tipped by heavier things. It's just because this polystyrene is so light. The other thing you can do, is if you flip it, is attach some kind of weight, like get a porcelain tile or what have you, However, don't do that on polystyrene because, well, you can try it on polystyrene, but you might find that the weight of it causes the polystyrene to bow / it might break it. That's all I'm saying. Here we go then, all primed up, and as you can see we have little paper squares all over. Now I'm using 120 grams per square metre paper roughly, and it's taken about, well, best part of an A1 sheet of paper. I don't know what that is in metric, but A1, so there. And I've just marked up both sides, top and bottom. This is just to add variety, bit of interest. Now, if you're interested in doing something kind of a bit more special than this, where, especially if you're trying to get rid of the polystyrene texture, you could actually paper all of the walls, or you could apply a lot of details like, you might want something narrower than that, but you could apply that along the bottom edge all the way around on the interior and exterior. You could also do it around the top edge, just to add a bit of interest, so you end up with a top-bottom sort of a skirting board and a hanging rail kind of an effect, which in the UK is quite common. Might not be in sci-fi though, but ultimately I'm not fussed about that. This could be underground, it could be a mining facility, but it's going to be the red district because it's going to be red because that's the colour of paint I have most of left. And this is now ready for spray painting, and so that's exactly what I'm going to do. You can see the post-spray painting phase, and I just started off with a base colour purple, and then a dark red, then a lighter red, then a light red, and then an orange dusting, and I've done both sides. The next step, I'm just going to be painting in all these tiles. I'm going to paint all these white because white and red looks good to go, let's face it. And then I will be doing final details and slotting everything in. So I shall see thee in a mo. Here we go then, all painted, all my details done. And these are all the details I'm going to do, just stripes around the edges and painting all the tiles white. And obviously the doors have all been affixed. So this is an outdoor battlefield. This is an indoor battlefield. Here's a quick look gander at it, just set up as a single building compound as well, so you get all the walls, you get the smaller compound, stacks of the building. You can fight your way through the building. Also, you can fight through the building so you've got all the room access, and you can just take the tiers off and restack them. And obviously you can put whatever bits you like inside. And here we have it set up as a single facility, which obviously being modular can be arranged different ways depending on how you feel that day. So I do hope this has been some interest to you in all your builds, especially if they're going in the box. Going really well. Thank you for watching, have a good one and take care. Bye bye.